The stars twinkled in the viewport as Dr. Eleanor Wright watched the test ship power up. It was 21:57, and today would change everything for humanity. "Engine status?" she asked, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "All systems green, Doctor," replied the technician. "The right drive is ready." Eleanor nodded and took a deep breath. For 10 years, she had worked at NASA's Quantum Propulsion Lab. 10 years of failures, breakthroughs, and more failures. But now, they had finally done it. They had built an engine that could bend space and travel faster than light. The test ship, small and sleek, hovered in the launch bay. Its name, Hope, was painted on the side in simple white letters. The ship wasn't much to look at, about the size of an old passenger jet, but inside it held the future of humanity. "Begin final countdown," ordered Mission Director Sam Porter. His voice echoed through the control room. 50 scientists and engineers fell silent, their eyes fixed, on screen showing the ship and its vital signs. Eleanor's hands gripped the edge of the console. This wasn't just a test of her engine. This was humanity's first real step into the stars. 3, 2, 1. Activate right drive. A soft hum filled the room as the ship's engine powered up. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, a bubble of blue light surrounded the ship. The light bent, twisted, and flashed bright, and the ship was gone. The room exploded in cheers. Eleanor felt tears running down her face. They had done it. They had actually done it. "Transit successful," announced a technician. "Ship has arrived at Jupiter checkpoint. Return jump initiating." 5 minutes later, the blue light flashed again, and the ship reappeared exactly where it had started. The right drive worked. Humanity could now travel among the stars. 6 months later, Earth had built its first proper starship. The UES Pioneer was much larger than the test ship, designed for exploration and first contact. Its captain, Frank Miller, stood proud on the bridge as they prepared for their first real journey beyond the solar system. "All stations report ready, Captain," said his first officer, Susan Garcia. Frank nodded. At 45, with salt and pepper hair and calm blue eyes, he had been chosen for his steady nerves and diplomatic skills. "Then let's make history. Activate the right drive." The Pioneer jumped, traveling farther than any human had gone before, to Proxima Centauri, the nearest star to Earth. But they found something unexpected waiting for them. 3 alien ships hung in space near the red dwarf star. They were beautiful and strange. Their hulls shimmered with colors humans had no names for, and they moved with impossible grace. "Open communications," ordered Frank. "Send the first contact package we prepared." Before they could send anything, the alien ships surrounded them. A voice came through their speakers, somehow speaking perfect English. "Human vessel, you have entered Galactic Council space. Stand down and prepare to be escorted to Harmonium Station for evaluation." Frank looked at his crew, their faces a mix of shock and excitement. First contact had happened, but not how they had expected it. "This is Captain Frank Miller of the UES Pioneer. We come in peace and welcome the opportunity to meet the Galactic Council." The Harmonium Station was massive, a spinning wheel in space bigger than any city on Earth. Inside, Frank and a small team from the Pioneer were led through corridors filled with aliens of all kinds. Some walked on 2 legs, others on 4 or 6. Some floated, and others slithered. The humans tried not to stare, but it was impossible not to. They were brought to a large chamber where 17 different alien representatives sat in a semicircle. The leader, clearly marked by special clothing, was a blue-skinned amphibious creature with large silver eyes. "I am High Commissioner Zilf of the Aquari, current head of the Galactic Council," it said, its mouth not moving, the words appearing directly in the humans' minds. "We have been watching your kind for centuries." Frank stepped forward and bowed slightly. "On behalf of Earth and all humanity, we are honored to make your acquaintance. We hope this meeting begins a long friendship between our peoples." Zilf's silver eyes narrowed. "Friendship? You misunderstand your position, Captain Miller. You are not here to join us. You are here to be judged. A screen appeared in the air, showing images from Earth's history. Wars, environmental destruction, violence. Frank felt his heart sink as he realized this wasn't going as planned. Your species is unpredictably violent and dangerously innovative, continued Zilf. Most concerning is how quickly you developed the right drive, as you call it. It took other species centuries longer. Another alien, this one covered in green fur, spoke up. They show potential, perhaps with guidance. They are too dangerous, interrupted a tall, thin alien with 4 arms. Remember the Krith? They too developed quickly and nearly destroyed half the galaxy before we stopped them. For 3 days, Frank and his team tried to defend humanity, explaining Earth's progress toward peace and environmental restoration. But the Council had already made up their mind. On the 4th day, Zilf delivered their verdict. Earth is hereby banned from all interstellar travel, trade, and communication. A quarantine field will be established around your solar system. Any attempt to break this quarantine will be met with immediate destruction. Back on Earth, Defense Secretary William Grant received the news in the Pentagon's secure meeting room. His face remained calm, but his knuckles turned white as he gripped his coffee mug. So they're locking us in our own solar system? He asked, looking at the video feed from the returning Pioneer. Captain Miller nodded grimly from the screen. The quarantine field goes active in 72 hours. After that, no ships can leave or enter the system. Grant set down his mug and pressed a button on his desk. Get me Admiral Linda Reeves. Authorization code. Safeguard. The room fell silent. Project Safeguard was a classified contingency plan that only 5 people on Earth knew about. It had been developed years ago when the first alien signals were detected, a plan for if first contact went badly. Within an hour, Admiral Reeves entered the room. She was tall and stern, with 30 years of military experience behind her. Sir, you activated Safeguard? The aliens have banned us from space, Linda. Time to activate the backup plan. Reeves nodded and brought up a secure display showing 12 small ships hidden throughout the Kuiper Belt, far from Earth and hopefully beyond where the quarantine field would reach. The experimental fleet is ready, sir. Small, but equipped, with prototype right drives. And the crews? Hand-picked, the best we have. Commander Ethan Hayes is leading the tactical division. Grant looked out the window at the blue sky. Soon, an invisible barrier would separate humanity from the stars they had just begun to reach. Send them Dr. Wright's complete engine specifications and the message we prepared. Admiral Reeves saluted. Yes, sir. Operation Scattered Seeds is now active. 3 days later, the quarantine field activated. A slight shimmer passed across the sky, visible only through special instruments. Earth was cut off from the stars. The Galactic Council departed, confident they had contained the human problem. High Commissioner Zilf personally supervised the placement of automated Sentinel drones around the solar system to monitor for any attempt to breach the quarantine. What the Council didn't know was that 12 small ships, hidden in the shadows of distant comets and asteroids, had slipped beyond the quarantine line before it activated. Each carried 20 of Earth's best and brightest, along with databases containing humanity's knowledge and culture. As the Council ships jumped away, Admiral Reeves gathered her scattered captains through encrypted quantum communications that couldn't be detected. The Council has made their decision, she told them, her face serious on their screens. Now they will learn it was a mistake. We are no longer just exploring the stars. Now we are humanity's only hope. Go forth, establish bases, build ships, make allies. One day we will return and show the Galactic Council that banning Earth was the biggest mistake they ever made. Commander Ethan Hayes aboard the ship Nova Dawn looked at his small but determined crew. You heard the Admiral. Let's make history. The scattered ships activated their right drives and disappeared into the darkness between the stars, carrying the flame of humanity with them. 5 years passed. The quarantine field shimmered faintly in Earth's telescopes, a constant reminder of humanity's prison. Occasionally, Aquari patrol ships would appear at the edge of the solar system, scanning for any attempt to break through the barrier. On Earth, life went on. People adapted to the news that they were not alone in the universe, but also not welcome. Some protested against the unfair judgment. Others focused on improving life within their cosmic cage. Most simply tried to live normally under the watchful eyes of alien sentinels. Beyond the quarantine, far from the Galactic Council's notice, humanity was growing stronger. Commander Ethan Hayes stood on a rocky cliff, looking out at the settlement below. New Hope Colony was 5 years old now, carved into the side of a valley on a planet 18 light-years from Earth. The morning sun cast long shadows across the prefabricated buildings and newly constructed homes. "Beautiful view, isn't it?" said a voice behind him. Hayes turned to see Dr. Carol Evans, the colony's lead scientist. Her red hair was pulled back in a practical ponytail, her face weathered from years working outdoors on this new world. "Gets better every day," Hayes replied with a smile. Once a military officer, he now served as Governor Hayes to the 2,000 colonists who called New Hope home. "The new greenhouse domes are operational," Carol said. "We'll be completely food self-sufficient within 6 months," Hayes nodded. Self-sufficiency was crucial. The 12 ships that had escaped Earth's quarantine had scattered widely, establishing 7 colonies on planets and moons in unclaimed systems. Each colony operated under strict radio silence, using only short-range quantum-entangled communicators that couldn't be detected across space. "Any word from the others?" Carol asked, keeping her voice low even though no one else was nearby. Hayes tapped the secure comm device on his wrist. "Neptune's Hope reports their mining operation is ahead of schedule. Harmony Point has completed their second underground city level. Freedom's Landing had a small outbreak of some local virus, but they've contained it. And the shipyards?" Hayes smiled. "That's the best news. Come see for yourself." 2 hours later, their shuttle approached what looked like an ordinary asteroid floating at the edge of the New Hope system. But as they drew closer, Hayes entered a code on the shuttle's control panel, and a hidden door opened in the asteroid's side. They flew into a massive hollowed-out space within the asteroid. Inside, lit by artificial lights, was a bustling shipyard. 3 vessels were under construction, their skeletal frames taking shape under the careful hands of engineers and construction drones. "We're building ships," Carol said in awe. "Not just any ships," Hayes replied. "Better ones. Each new generation of the right drive is more efficient, faster, and harder to detect than the one before. Admiral Reeves insisted that we keep improving, while staying hidden." They landed and toured the facility, which employed 400 workers living in quarters carved into the asteroid itself. Chief Engineer Pete Dawson led them through the main construction bay. "This one will be ready in 3 weeks, Dawson said, pointing to the most complete ship. "We're calling her the Pathfinder. Scout class, crew of 6 with the new stealth systems Dr. Bennett developed." Hayes nodded approvingly. "How many ships have we completed across all colonies?" 27 so far, Dawson replied. "Small fleet, but growing steadily. We're using materials harvested from uninhabited systems, so no one notices resources going missing." As they walked, Hayes thought about how far they had come. The Earthless, as they now called themselves, had grown from 12 ships with 240 people to 7 colonies with nearly 14,000 humans. It wasn't much compared to Earth's billions, but it was a start. At Neptune's Hope Colony, Dr. Sophia Vega squinted at her screen, reading the stolen data for the 5th time. "You're sure this is accurate?" she asked the man sitting across from her. Captain Daniel Reed nodded. His ship, the Shadow Walker, had just returned from a risky mission to the edge of Council space. Downloaded directly from their legal database during a scheduled maintenance window. They never detected us. Sophia scrolled through the document again, the complete text of the Galactic Council's ban on Earth. After 5 years of carefully studying Council languages and legal systems, she had finally found something important. "It's a loophole," she said, excitement creeping into her voice. "The ban specifically prohibits the planet Earth, its governments, and official representative bodies from interstellar activity, but it says nothing about individual humans or organizations founded by humans outside the Sol system." Daniel frowned. "So what does that mean for us?" "It means," Sophia said, leaning forward, "that technically, we're not breaking their law. The colonies, our ships, everything we're doing, it's all legal under their own rules. This discovery would change everything about how the Earthless operated. If they weren't actually outlaws under Council law, They could potentially approach other species openly, maybe even establish trade relationships. Meanwhile, on Earth, Defense Secretary Grant and Dr. Wright hadn't been idle. While appearing to accept the quarantine, they had secretly diverted resources to developing weapons and defenses designed specifically to counter Council technology. In an underground facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Wright examined the prototype shield generator. It was designed based on the little they had learned about Council weapons during the brief first contact. "Will it work?" asked Grant, who had aged visibly in the 5 years since the quarantine began. "In theory," Eleanor replied. "Without being able to test it against actual Council weapons, I can't be certain, but the simulations are promising." Grant nodded. "Keep at it. The quarantine may have trapped most of us here, but that doesn't mean we'll sit helpless if they ever decide to come back with worse intentions." The initial shock and anger that had swept through Earth after the ban had transformed into quiet determination. Humanity wouldn't forget what had been done to them. The most significant development for the Earthless came when one of Hayes's exploration vessels discovered another spacefaring species that wasn't part of the Galactic Council. The Nerkai were tall, slender beings with 6-fingered hands and reflective skin that shifted colors with their emotions. Their civilization was older than humanity's, but they had been denied Council membership centuries earlier for being too ideologically independent. Captain Darius King, commanding the exploration vessel Far Horizon, made the first contact with a Nerkai trading ship near an unaligned system. Instead of hiding or running, he took a calculated risk and opened communications. "We are humans," he transmitted. "We seek friendship and exchange of knowledge." The Nerkai were cautious, but curious. They had heard of the Earth quarantine, but had never met a human before. Their captain, a female named Selvana, agreed to a face-to-face meeting on her ship. "Your council," Darius said during their talks, "called us dangerous. What do you think?" Selvana's skin rippled with blue patterns. Amusement, Darius would later learn. The council fears what it cannot control. They feared us too. By the end of their meeting, Darius had negotiated humanity's first alien alliance. The Nerkai would share their knowledge of Council tactics, communication systems, and star charts. In exchange, humans would provide right drive technology, which was more advanced than the Nerkai's own FTL system. Back at New Hope, Hayes received the news with satisfaction. "This changes everything," he told his council of advisors. "We're not alone out here anymore." Admiral Reeves, speaking through the quantum communicator from her base at Freedom's Landing Colony, agreed. "The council thought they contained us. They were wrong. We're not just surviving out here, we're thriving. And soon we'll be strong enough to make them regret ever banning Earth from the stars." Hayes looked at the star map on the wall, showing the positions of the 7 human colonies and the newly marked Nerkai territories. "We still need to be careful, grow slowly, stay hidden from the council, build our strength." "And then?" asked Carol Evans. Hayes smiled grimly. "And then we show the Galactic Council that banning Earth was the biggest mistake they ever made." 7 years after Earth's ban, strange reports began circulating throughout Galactic Council space. Merchant ships went missing. Supply routes to frontier worlds were disrupted. The secure communications channels used by Council military vessels occasionally picked up unknown signals. High Commissioner Zilf paced in his private chambers on Harmonium Station. His blue skin had paled with stress, and the silver membranes over his eyes blinked rapidly. "Another attack?" he asked the Aquari, captain on the screen before him. "Yes, sir. 3 cargo ships at the Belridian trade junction. Pirates, we assume, but they're using technology we've never seen before. They appear and disappear before our response ships can arrive." Zilf's webbed hands formed a gesture of frustration. "And the quarantine around Sol?" "Still intact, sir. Our patrols report no unusual activity. Earth appears to be obeying the ban." But Zilf wasn't convinced. Something about these attacks felt too organized, too precise. And the unknown ships were reportedly faster than any council vessel. "Increase patrols around Earth. I want twice daily scans of the entire system." In the hidden command center on New Hope Colony, Governor Ethan Hayes studied the reports from their growing network of spy ships. The Earthless fleet now numbered 218 vessels, ranging from small scout ships to medium cruisers. None were as large as Council warships, but they were faster and had better stealth technology. "The disruption campaign is working," said Commander Olivia Grant, his chief of operations. "Council shipping is down 30% in the sectors we've targeted." Hayes nodded. For the past year, human ships had been carrying out hit-and-run attacks on Council shipping lanes. They never destroyed vessels or harmed crew members, just disabled engines and communications, then took valuable cargo. The goals were twofold: gather needed resources and create confusion in Council space. "What about the Nerkai intelligence?" he asked. Olivia brought up a new report on the screen. "Our allies have infiltrated 3 more Council worlds. They confirm that the Council is divided on how to respond to these pirate attacks. Some species want to increase military presence. Others think it's a waste of resources. And Earth? That's the interesting part," Olivia said. "The Aquarii are convinced humans are behind the attacks, but they can't prove it. The quarantine is still holding, so other Council members think the Aquarii are being paranoid." Hayes smiled slightly. The plan was working perfectly. With the help of the Nerkai and 3 other non-Council species they'd made contact with, humanity had established a shadow presence throughout this sector of the galaxy. They traded in secret, gathered intelligence, and carefully undermined Council authority while building their strength. "What's the status of our new communications network?" Hayes asked. "Almost complete. Another month and we'll have secure quantum relays connecting all 7 colonies and our major ally worlds." Hayes was about to respond when an urgent signal came through. The face of Captain Lisa Chen appeared on screen. "Governor, we have an emergency. The Aquarii colony on Herdaxis has sent out a distress call. Some kind of disease is spreading through their population. Their medical facilities are overwhelmed." Hayes frowned. "How bad?" "Thousands infected, hundreds dead already. It's spreading fast." Hayes considered this information carefully. Herdaxis was only 2 light years from Neptune's Hope colony. If the disease spread, it could potentially threaten humans too. But more importantly, this presented an opportunity. "Contact Dr. Vega at Neptune's Hope. Ask if her medical team can help." Olivia looked surprised. "Sir? You want to reveal ourselves? To help the Aquarii? The same species that led the push to ban us?" Hayes nodded firmly. "This isn't about revenge. It's about showing who we really are. Ready my ship. I'll lead the mission personally." 3 days later, 5 human vessels dropped out of FTL near Herdaxis. The planet was beautiful from orbit, mostly ocean with scattered islands covered in lush vegetation. But the beauty hid the suffering below. Hayes had expected an immediate hostile response, but the Aquarii were too desperate to turn away help. When he identified himself as a human governor and offered advanced medical technology, the colonial administrator was shocked but quickly accepted. Dr. Sofia Vega led a team of human doctors to the surface. Within hours, they had set up emergency treatment centers using medical technology developed in the human colonies over the past 7 years. "The disease attacks their respiratory system," Sophia explained to Hayes as they worked in the main, a hospital. "It's similar to something we encountered on Neptune's Hope 2 years ago. We already have effective treatments." Around them, Aquarii medical staff watched in amazement as human doctors treated their sick. Children were prioritized first, their small blue bodies hooked up to human medical devices that purified their blood and repaired damaged tissue. The colonial administrator, a female Aquarii named Mira, approached Hayes cautiously. "Your people, you are not what the Council told us." Hayes nodded. "We never were. The Council judged us without knowing us. But how are you here? The quarantine. Some of us were already outside when it was put in place," Hayes explained, telling a partial truth. "We've been building our own civilization out of your sight. For 3 days, human medical teams worked non-stop. The death rate dropped dramatically, and by the 4th day, new infections had slowed to almost 0. The human treatments were working, News spread quickly across nearby council worlds. Humans, the supposedly dangerous species that had been quarantined, had come to save an Aquari colony. Many citizens began questioning the original ban. On the 7th day, as the human ships prepared to depart, disaster struck. 3 Aquari warships emerged from FTL near the planet. "Attention, human vessels," came the transmission. "This is Captain Zyler of the Aquari Defense Force. You are in violation of the council ban. Surrender immediately." Hayes stood on the bridge of his ship, the Nova Dawn, and considered his options. They could run. Their ships were faster. They could fight. Their technology was better than the Aquari expected, but neither option served the larger plan. "Open a channel," he ordered. When the connection was established, he faced the hostile Aquari captain. "This is Governor Ethan Hayes. We came here on a humanitarian mission at the request of your colonial administrator. Our work is done, and we were just leaving." The Aquari captain's silver eyes narrowed. "You have broken council law. Your ships will be impounded and your crews detained." From the planet's surface, Administrator Mira's voice broke in. "Captain Zylar, the humans saved over 4,000 Aquari lives, including my own child. They came when we called for help and asked nothing in return." "That is irrelevant," Zylar replied coldly. "The law is clear." Hayes made a quick decision. "Captain, we will not surrender, nor will we fight you. We have no quarrel with the Aquari people." He nodded to his weapons officer, who activated the newly developed defensive systems. Before the Aquari ships could react, targeted energy pulses disabled their weapons and primary engines, leaving life support and other essential systems untouched. "As you can see," Hayes continued calmly, "we could have destroyed your vessels but chose not to harm anyone. Consider this a demonstration of human intentions." The human ships moved into formation and prepared to jump to FTL. "You cannot escape," Zyler sputtered. "The council will hunt you down." "They've been trying for 7 years," Hayes replied, "without success." As the right drives powered up, Hayes made one final transmission, not just to the disabled Aquari ships, but broadcast, openly so that it would spread across council space. "We are not your enemies. We never were. Today we helped save your people. Remember that when your council speaks of humans." The 5 ships vanished into FTL, leaving behind confused Aquari, grateful colonists, and a story that would spread like wildfire. Commander Ryan Powell, Hayes' diplomatic officer, looked at his captain after they jumped. "That went as well as could be expected." Hayes nodded. "Phase 1 complete. Now we see how the council reacts." "And Phase 2? Hayes' expression was determined. "Now, we show ourselves openly. The time for hiding is over." The massive council chamber on Harmonium Station buzzed with angry voices. Representatives from all 17 species of the Galactic Council argued loudly, pointing fingers and making threats. In the 7 years since Earth's ban, the Council had never been so divided. High Commissioner Zilf banged his ceremonial staff on the floor, demanding order. "We must take immediate military action against these human rebels," he shouted over the noise. A Doraxian representative stood up. The Doraxians were one of the founding council species, tall, 4-armed beings with rough stone-like skin. "Based on what evidence, Commissioner?" "The humans at Herdaxis saved Aquari lives." "They violated the quarantine," Zilf shot back. "The law must be enforced." Before the Doraxian could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the station. A voice came over the speakers. "Unknown fleet approaching Harmonium. 500 vessels detected." The chamber fell. Silent. 500 ships? No single council species had that many vessels in one place, not even the militaristic Corva. Screens around the chamber activated, showing the approaching fleet. The ships were sleek and varied in design, but all bore the same symbol, a circle with a small image of Earth inside it, surrounded by 7 stars. "It's them," Zilf whispered, his blue skin paling. "The humans." As the council watched in shock, another fleet appeared beside the human vessels, ships with the distinctive reflective hulls of the Nerkai. Then another group joined, the crystalline vessels of the Volta, and finally the organic-looking ships of the Rayla. all species that had been denied council membership or had withdrawn in protest over the years. "This is Admiral Linda Reeves. Of the United Human Colonies," came a transmission. "We request permission to send representatives to address the Council on a matter of galactic importance." In his private chambers, High Commissioner Zilf paced frantically, surrounded by his advisors. How did they build so many ships? How did they form alliances with the Nerkai and others? The quarantine was perfect. "Clearly not," said his military advisor dryly. "Intelligence suggests they had ships outside the Sol system before the quarantine was established." "We could attack," suggested another advisor. "Our combined fleets would likely lose," interrupted the military advisor. "Their technology appears to be at least a generation ahead of ours, and they have the strategic advantage." Zilf stopped pacing. A dangerous idea was forming in his mind. What about the quarantine field itself? Could it be weaponized? His science advisor looked alarmed. "Theoretically, yes. We could reconfigure it to collapse Sol's jump points, isolating Earth permanently. But that would violate dozens of council laws on ethical warfare." "Prepare the modifications," Zilf ordered. "If the council meeting goes poorly, we'll need leverage." Meanwhile, on the human flagship Freedom, Governor Hayes and Dr. Sophia Vega prepared to board a shuttle to Harmonium Station. They had been chosen to represent humanity before the council. "Nervous?" Sophia asked, adjusting her formal uniform. Hayes smiled slightly. 7 years ago, I was a tactical officer on a small ship escaping Earth's quarantine. Now I'm about to address the people who put us in that quarantine. Yes, I'm a little nervous." Admiral Reeves approached them. Her hair had gone completely white in the past 7 years, but her eyes were as sharp as ever. "Remember the plan. Be firm but not aggressive. We want peace but on equal terms." Hayes nodded. "And if they refuse?" "Then we're ready for that, too," Reeves replied. "But let's hope it doesn't come to that." The council chamber was packed when Hayes and Vega entered. Along with the 17 council representatives, hundreds of observers and media from various worlds were present. This was the biggest diplomatic event in decades. High Commissioner Zilf sat in the center chair, trying to look confident despite the situation. "The council recognizes the human delegates," he said, his voice carrying a hint of disgust. Hayes stepped forward. "Thank you for this opportunity. 7 years ago, your council judged humanity without truly knowing us. You feared our potential and our differences. Today, we come to show you who we really are." Vega activated a holographic display showing the human colonies, their achievements, and the humanitarian work they had done across various worlds, including saving the Aquarion Herdaxis. "Since our banishment, we have built 7 thriving colonies. We have developed new technologies. We have made friends and allies," Hayes continued. "All without war, without conquest, and without violating the spirit of galactic peace that your council claims to uphold." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Many council members seemed surprised by what they were seeing. "You violated the quarantine," Zilf interjected. "You illegally—" "Did we?" Vega stepped forward, displaying the text of the original ban. "Your own legal document specifically prohibited the planet Earth, its governments, and official representative bodies from interstellar activity. It said nothing about individual humans or organizations founded outside the Sol system." She highlighted specific sections of the law. "By your own legal standards, we have broken no laws. The United Human Colonies is not Earth, nor is it an Earth government." The Duraxian representative laughed, a rumbling sound like rocks sliding. "She has you there, Zilf. A legal technicality, but a valid one." Hayes pressed the advantage. "But legal arguments aside, we come with more serious concerns. While trading with various worlds, we've discovered something troubling." He displayed evidence showing that at least 5 council member species had been secretly trading with humans, despite the ban. Trading logs, financial records, signed contracts, all appeared on the screen. "Many of you have been violating your own restrictions for profit," Hayes said calmly. "Which raises the question, If you don't believe we're dangerous enough to avoid trading with us, why maintain the ban at all? The chamber erupted in accusations and denials. Several representatives looked deeply uncomfortable as their species' trading activities were exposed. As the chaos unfolded in a secure room elsewhere on the station, Zilf's technicians worked to reconfigure the Earth quarantine field. "Almost ready, sir," one reported via secure channel. "On your command, we can collapse Sol's jump points." "Stand by," Zilf replied quietly. "I'll give the order when—" He was interrupted by alarms on their system. "Sir, someone's accessing our command network. They're blocking the modifications to the quarantine field." Back in the council chamber, Hayes was offering a choice to the increasingly divided council. "You can continue this failed policy of isolation, or you can welcome humanity as equals. The choice is yours, but know this. We control key trade routes now. Our allies depend on us as we depend on them. Economic isolation would hurt the council far more than it would hurt us." The Doraxian representative stood. The Doraxian Union formally recognizes the United Human Colonies as a sovereign power and calls for an immediate vote to end the quarantine of Earth. Others quickly joined: the Volta, the Solari, even some of the council's founding members. Zilf watched in horror as his authority crumbled before his eyes. In desperation, he activated his personal communicator. "Execute the quarantine weapon now," he hissed. "We can't, sir," came the reply. "Our systems are completely locked out. There's a message on screen. It says, 'Courtesy of Earth Intelligence Division.'" At that exact moment, something remarkable happened in the Sol system. The quarantine field that had surrounded Earth for 7 years flickered and dissolved. Defense Secretary Grant stood at Earth's main space control center, watching as the barrier disappeared. "It worked," he said, relief evident in his voice. "Our override codes worked." Beside him, Dr. Eleanor Wright smiled. "Of course they did. I designed them specifically to counter their field technology. I just needed time to perfect it." On the main screen, a massive ship appeared from a jump point near Mars. The UES Defiance, Earth's first Dreadnought-class vessel, flanked by dozens of destroyers that had been built in secret beneath the surface of the moon. "Looks like we're ready to rejoin the galaxy," Grant said. "Just in time, too." Back on Harmonium Station, the vote had been taken. 14 of the 17 council species voted to end Earth's quarantine and recognize the United Human Colonies. Zilf, defeated and exposed for attempting to weaponize the quarantine field, was immediately removed from office. A moderate Doraxian named Krelvos was appointed as interim High Commissioner. After the session ended, Hayes and Vega met privately with Krelvos. "You've managed quite a victory," the Doraxian said, his forearms making a gesture of respect. "But I must ask, why didn't humans simply go to war when we banned you? You clearly had the capability." Hayes smiled. "Because war wasn't our goal. Taking our rightful place among the stars was. War would have only delayed that. As for the ban," he exchanged a glance with Vega, "it may have been the best thing that ever happened to us. It forced us to learn, adapt, and overcome humanity's greatest strengths." 3 months later, the first official human ambassador arrived at Harmonium Station, Dr. Eleanor Wright, the inventor of the drive that had started it all. As she walked through the corridors where humans had once been judged as too dangerous, she carried with her humanity's message to the stars. "We belong here, among you, as equals." And the Galactic Council, wiser now than 7 years before, finally agreed. The end.